2, 1.
Hi, I'm Todd Sievert. I'm chairman for the Personnel Committee today. We're meeting, we're going a little bit out of order from the agenda due to some personal commitments. We have 2 items to discuss today. One is to provide a recommendation to council regarding adjusting the hourly wage paid to seasonal temporary employees to reflect the adjustment in the Ohio minimum wage. The other is to provide a recommendation to council regarding amendments to ordinance chapter 141, benefit provisions for non-bargaining unit employees. Consideration of emergency legislation is requested. Before we go forward, to my left is Councilman Tom Kendall. To my right would be Mr. Twiss, who is unavailable to be here today. He's on a mission with his church. I will turn, Mr. Kendall, do you have any questions before I turn it over to city staff? I will turn it over to Safety Service Director, or Mr. Funderburg, I guess, is going to be addressing this.
Yes, thank you. As you said, there are 2 items here in front of the committee. The first one is the Ohio minimum wage increase, which is set to take effect on January 1st, 2019. That is something that is reflected from a cost of living adjustment that the state determines every year, and this year it's actually going up a little more than average, a quarter, from $8.30 to $8.55 per hour. And what you have in front of you really is the ordinance which impacts most of our seasonal and hourly employees, a lot of our summer high school temporary employees that may be working just for a summertime job and employment for the city of Troy. So it would basically raise our minimum from the $8.30 to the $8.55, and then we adjust those rates accordingly by the approximate 25%. And that impacts between 50 and 70 individuals every year. People like lifeguards, and people who work at Hobart Arena or the concession stands, et cetera. So really we don't have much choice in there. As it shows in here, the federal minimum wage remains at 7 1/4, but we have to go by the state in this case, and again, it's something we do just about every year.
Mr. Kendall, you have any questions?
No, I don't.
I don't have any questions. I think we go forward on this. It's mandated by state law, so we're in compliance with that one. Are you going to address the second issue as well, Mr. Funderburg?
Yes.
Thank you.
Chapter 141 is part of the city ordinances, and we do not adjust these necessarily every year, but when we have a language change in some of our benefit provisions for our employees with the city of Troy, and this really, 141 impacts our non-bargaining employees, but we try to keep the non-bargaining employees on page and whole with any of the bargaining agreements that we have. We're going through bargaining, as you know, right now, excuse me, and reached agreement with a couple of the groups and are trying to reflect the language from those agreements and keep our non-bargaining employees whole. So 141, we are making adjustments for our health insurance to reflect language that's within the union agreements, and that is to contribute a certain amount, a minimum of 25% to the health savings account deductibles beginning next agreement year, next health insurance year, and for that provision of that language to go forward for 3 years. That's a slight adjustment from what we've had the past 3 years with those groups. So that's the money that just goes into the employees' health savings accounts for those who have those. And then there's additional one-time offer to go into the health savings accounts effective the first of the year, which that was an incentive to get people to move forward and really consider these health savings accounts as a viable option for their health needs. And those are growing. We have more than half of our city employees in a health savings account, and that's grown significantly over the last few years. So that's really the first section of 141, and that is reflected in the union agreements as well that we've closed out so far. And then you have 4 other sections that are slight adjustments, but the vacation pay section there. We are trying to expand the ability for our hourly employees who are non-bargaining to be able to cash out, in effect, up to 80 hours of vacation pay at the end of each calendar year. That's something that exempt employees right now are allowed to do, and we've had quite a bit of interest from our hourly employees to do something similar. We don't have a lot of people taking advantage of that, but when you think about it, it's a little bit less expensive to pay that money out under current wage rates than to wait for having them cash it out when they retire. So there is some savings to the city, and I also think there's some productivity to the city as well. People stay at work and they're here doing their jobs. So there's a couple of advantages to that, and there has been interest expressed, so we are recommending that slight adjustment. The safety glass reference in here is really just a change to include our current practice of supporting the need for our employees to have safety glasses, and we support the cost of those, both prescription and non-prescription, and that is a program that's been in place for quite some time, but we've changed just the language to reflect non-prescription as well. Our educational incentive plan under here is a slight change as well. We incentivize employees to go above and beyond when it comes to their educational requirements. So if a person's job classification requires that they have a bachelor's degree, for example, in their job description, and they go above and beyond and pay for and invest in their own future and get a master's degree, currently we are paying a $500 one-time at the end of the year payment. This is making that, recommending that we make the adjustment to $715, which is reflective and would be equal to the minimum amount that we pay an employee in the bargaining unit. Their payments can go up to as high as over $1,000 for similar considerations. So it'd be adjusting that up from $500 to $715 for those folks who go above and beyond and earn additional education. I think we had currently 9 people who took advantage of that this year and have gone out and invested in themselves. And then the license recognition pay, this is a really old reference to the way we used to apply payment for those who we required to hold a pesticide license. There are currently 3 people within the city that hold that. In all cases, those people are hourly, exempt from overtime, and exempt from really hourly pay rates. So a couple of years ago, we decided to roll that 17-cent equivalent adjustment over a year into their salary and just forget about considering 17 cents on an hourly basis. It really makes the process easier, it streamlines that, and it gives the people the recognition they need to have to hold that pesticide license. In all cases, those people are management individuals who are exempt from hourly consideration anyhow. So those are the 5 things to consider when it comes to Chapter 141.
I just have a question on vacation pay. So is it accrued then if you don't get your payment at the end of the year? Does it just roll over?
It does, up to a certain amount, depending on your number of years with the city.
Okay, so we do cap it then at some level?
We do.
Okay.
You can have no more than 3 years at whichever allowance you get based on your years of service.
Okay, and is it the same
On
for
the
sick?
books.
Do we combine accrued sick leave and vacation pay, or is it just vacation pay?
It's just vacation
Right.
pay. The sick
You can accrue
accrues
forever.
forever, and then, but at retirement, you only get paid for a certain portion of the sick, and the rest goes away.
Same as vacation?
Well, the vacation will drop off if you exceed the three years' worth. It becomes use it or lose it at that point. So whatever you have on the books at retirement, or when you leave, I guess, is what you're paid at vacation.
So to Tom's point, this is really to incentivize someone to say, hey, give me my 2 weeks. I didn't take a vacation this year, give me my 2 weeks pay.
You're still required to take a week's vacation. I mean, we want people to
Okay.
use their vacation and, take a break. This is if you have more than that And you can keep, after you take the 80 hours, turn those in, you still have 40 hours just in case. That's when you can take it. It's all really about being able to manage what is otherwise an unfunded liability in the year that somebody retires.
Right.
And be able to pay it now rather than have it compounded based on their salary, cost of living and any step increases they might get.
Okay. I don't have it. Do you see how any problem?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We would move that both of those items go
Do you want
forward.
to see if anyone else has
Oh,
questions? or comments?
sorry. Anybody else wish to comment on that?
No.
Thank you. Seeing no other comments, I will now move that we go forward with that. You have any issues?
I'm fine. No,
Okay.
no issues.
Emergency for the one.
Emergency for item number
Which
2.
the Chapter 141, particularly because, so the health insurance is compliant with what is being offered to the bargaining unit as of January 1.
Yes. We have no problem with that. You have any problem with that?
No problem.
Okay. I will turn the proverbial gavel over to who's going next? Utilities?
You need to adjourn.
Oh, I will move to adjourn this meeting and we will move on to the Utilities Committee.